Apologies to anyone who took seriously President Biden's commission to study the Supreme Court. This commission, you may recall, was born of political convenience. They wanted to dilute what they believed to be a conservative majority by adding more progressive justices. It was and remains a terrible idea. They wanted to get politics out of the Supreme Court by adding more political justices. The commission now has some modest proposals, none of which will ever be enacted. I don't have the credentials to be on a commission as august as that one, nor do I like footnotes. But I do have some ideas of my own.
And we all know the best suggestions are made by people who just told you that they're not qualified to make those suggestions.
To Republicans, think about the following justices: Brennan, Blackmun, Stevens, Warren, and Souter. What do they have in common? All were liberal members of the court put on the bench by Republican presidents. So my advice to Republicans is do a better job of vetting the judicial philosophy of nominees before you elevate them to the high court.
I'm Rayy Vana, and welcome back to Rebel HQ. Because this particular Fox News host is a former prosecutor, you would expect him to know just a little bit about what he's talking about. But that assumption would be wrong. Now let's take a look at those justices he just mentioned.
Brennan, Blackmun, Stevens, Warren, and Souter. All were liberal members of the court put on the bench by Republican presidents.
While it's true that all these justices are liberal and that they were all appointed by Republican presidents, he's leaving out some information here. Justices Brennan and Warren were appointed by President Dwight D. Eisenhower because they were not going to vote in lockstep with the Republican Party. Justice Stevens was appointed by President Ford because of his record on anti-corruption, which, let's face it, was a very popular idea post-Richard Nixon. And Justices Blackmun and Souter were safe bets for Republicans. There was very little in their judicial history that indicated that they would side with liberal justices at all.
Do a better job of vetting the judicial philosophy of nominees before you elevate them to the high court.
I'd also like to add that Justice Warren was the justice who wrote the decision in Brown versus Board of Education and desegregated schools. He upheld the Civil Rights Act. He overturned anti-miscegenation laws. So to this Fox News host, which one of those things are you against? Integration, the Civil Rights Act, or interracial marriage? He then goes on to directly contradict everything he just said in the next part of the segment.
Do we want fairness or just a decision we agree with? Do we want impartiality or a certain desired result? Can we separate what the law is from what we want it to be? Do we have the discipline to win the debate, or do we just want to win the Supreme Court vote? We need a court that understands its role in our tripartite system. Justices who can disagree with and even dissent from, even their own personal feelings.
Hold on. Didn't you literally just say that Republicans need to ensure that their nominees for the Supreme Court are actually conservative and will uphold conservative values?
So my advice to Republicans is do a better job of vetting the judicial philosophy of nominees before you elevate them to the high court.
I mean, I wouldn't expect honesty or consistency from anyone from Fox News, but come on, man.
We need to elevate the virtue of fairness.
As someone who has gone to law school myself, I can definitively say, if you left law school with the view that the Supreme Court is some nonpartisan body of government, and that Supreme Court justices never let their personal ideologies seep into their decision-making, you didn't pay attention.